Welcome to Drive for Service, a podcast to inspire a higher quality of service. Hello, a very warm welcome to our next episode of Drive for Service podcast. I'm Amy Morant, and I'm here with my very good friend of 14 years, David O'Connor, co-owner of Medlar Restaurant in Chelsea.
Hello, everyone.
Now, David and I have worked for many years in customer service, and most of those in restaurants working together. And David's always driven his teams for an outstanding level of service. We're here today to figure out from the industry's best how they deliver a level of service isn't just good, but goes above and beyond. David, did you want to introduce our first guest today?
Yeah, sure. So today we're going to meet Tom Slegg, who is the manager of the Angel Hotel in Bury St Edmunds. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, yeah.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on.
No, great.
It's so cool to see a podcast all about service, front of house and what we do. So yeah, real honour. Thank you.
Really looking forward to hearing your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we start with your career story, Tom?
Yeah, it's been 25, 26 years, I suppose. So first job I was 15. So like a lot of other people, that was in a local restaurant in a hotel in Ipswich in Suffolk, where I'm from. So 15 years old, but I kind of look back a bit further than that. It was a sort of old school traditional hotel, and my mum and dad used to take me there occasionally on a Sunday night. I think it was 2 courses for about £6, something like that. Which is why they took me there on a Sunday night. So it was me and my sister, my mum and dad used to go. It was called the Marlborough Hotel, and yeah, special deal on a Sunday night. So every now and then, not often, but every now and then they would take us down there for dinner. And I was blown away as soon as I stepped foot in a proper restaurant, if you like. Loved it. So, like I say, quite old school. 2 people would open the doors as you rocked up. You'd walk in, and this kind of warm air would hit you, and they'd say, "Hello, sir. Hello, madam. Come on in." And you'd have the lounge and the chit chat and the big armchairs and the sort of dicky-bowed waiters and all that kind of stuff. And I think I knew then, I was probably 11, 12. I think I knew then I want to be a waiter. That was it. Job done. Felt like a king.
A real occasion restaurant.
Oh, it really,
Yeah.
especially for a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it wasn't an occasion restaurant for everybody, but for us to walk into somewhere like that, when you saw those like I say, dicky-bowed waiters with a silver tray, and you saw the canapes in the lounge, you know exactly the kind of place I'm talking about. It was so special.
I have a memory actually of a restaurant. I've just remembered it now.
Yeah.
And they used to serve the coffee in the tiniest cups.
Yeah.
And I just remember going, "Oh, this is really posh."
Yeah, that must be posh.
It must be posh coffee because they serve very tiny
It wasn't
cups.
an espresso. It was just a really small coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they used to treat us like kings. And like I say, we didn't go there that often, but they would remember, particularly us, because we were young, they would remember my name and they knew that I loved it. So they would say, "Tom, how are you?" You'd have a lovely time, and they would say, "You know what, Tom, you should come and work here one day." So I did. As soon as I was old enough, 15, applied for a job and became a waiter at the Marlborough Hotel. And that was my first job. Absolutely loved it. Loads of weddings on the weekends.
Lovely.
Learned how to do a fancy napkin like this that folds out on the table and looks very pretty. And
lovely.
All the old school stuff. But honestly, I loved it.
Yeah.
And the people were amazing. And I think that's what made it for me. We were really well looked after. They obviously cared about people. They obviously cared about developing youngsters, and they were passionate about what they did. Loved it. So I was there from when I was 15, a couple of years, 17, well, until I was 18, actually. Talk about this bit. Then I took the great step and I went to work at Wetherspoons for a little bit when I was 18. So, I always had that in me that I wanted to be doing something a bit different to what my mates were doing. They kind of had jobs in shops or helping dad out gardening and getting a tenner or whatever. And I was always like, I want a proper job. And there was something weirdly exciting about working in the evenings or working when other people were at home and that kind of stuff. I went and worked at Wetherspoons, and didn't teach me a lot about the highest levels of service, but it did teach me a lot about work ethic. It did teach me a lot about working as a team, and it did, the hours were pretty tough, and it was busy. And actually, I really, really loved the buzz of that as well.
Yeah.
It didn't last that long. You know,
No.
I knew it wasn't for me. I knew I wasn't going to be a pub manager or anything like that. I knew it was restaurants that I wanted to get back into. So I went off to university, went to London Metropolitan Uni on Holloway Road.
Yeah.
I did hospitality management degree. I actually deferred. I actually thought I was never going to go to university. I said, there's no way I'm going to university. I'm going straight into work because I love it. It was my mum at the time. I remember she said, just accept a place, defer it for a year and see how you're doing. And then a year later, I thought, yeah, you know what, I will go and do it. So International Hospitality Management was the name of the course. That was a bit up and down. I mean, did I study as hard as I could have done? Maybe not. We had a good time. You know, it was university at the end of the day. It was essentially a business course. So it wasn't exactly what I would have loved it to be. It wasn't very hands-on. There wasn't it wasn't like a sandwich course where you had a placement in industry or anything like that. I didn't get to go abroad. I learned a lot about business. There was accounting modules, there was economics modules, there was HR modules and stuff. All been really helpful.
I was about to say, all
I mean,
very
it's great.
relevant now.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Yeah.
And when I look back, it's been really helpful. What I really remember about it is one lecturer, basically. A guy called Martin Peacock. He was brilliant and just so passionate about hospitality. Spent all his time in the best places, but he spent all his time everywhere. He was just so interested in hospitality. One day he'd tell you how he'd been in the Rivoli Bar in the Ritz. One day he'd been in Ace Cafe. One day he'd been, he'd all over the shop.
Interested in service in its many different forms. Then
exactly that. Exactly
Yeah.
that. And he used to talk endlessly. His lectures were inspiring. They were quite casual. He'd sit on the table and he'd basically sit on the table and chat to us about service and food. And I didn't know at the time, and he never ever mentioned it, but he had his own restaurant, and he had a restaurant in Rye called Landgate Bistro, which I visited after I'd finished university, and I found out that he had it. He never told us. And going there was one of the best experiences ever. Brilliant food, brilliant service. I mean, it's like walking into someone's house. He was in the kitchen cooking. He would bring it out. He made his own gin. It was just a brilliant experience. So that's what I took from university. It was basically him. Out of university, back home. So I went to work for Lock Fine restaurants. So chain restaurants. At the time, they were a really inspiring company, actually. They kind of set up, I think BSE had just been a big thing. People were a bit worried about eating meat. And they went seafood and just smashed it. I think when I joined, they had 6 or 7 restaurants, I think. And then I was only there a year and a half or so. I think they had about 15. And then I watched it progress and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. Sold to Green King in the end, I think.
Yeah.
And I learnt loads in the time I was there. I learnt loads about systems, really, about processes, about order of service, about how many rings you should let the phone ring for. I learnt lots about how many minutes it should take for a starter to come out. I learned lots about how you should serve the perfect Coca-Cola with 2 straws and one of them should be bent, etc. The systems were kind of foolproof, actually.
Yeah.
And that's what you get working with a chain restaurant.
Yeah.
Again,
Consistency. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Have to be consistent.
And again, actually, super beneficial.
Yeah.
Really, really beneficial.
How did they manage that, Tom?
They had they had a service manager for the company. So he was someone that had been, I think, one of their most successful general managers. I think in a restaurant in Beaconsfield, and I think they said, "You've nailed this. Your order of service is perfect," because they were growing at the time.
Yeah.
Your order of service is perfect. You've got all these systems in place. All your guys seem to have bought into it, and I think they took him out and gave him a salary and a car, and he sort of went around and tried to instill it everywhere. And he would come in, and you'd be like, "Oh, right, okay, so we've got 3 minutes and we've got 5 minutes." And while I learned a lot from it, it was slightly robotic. That's not a criticism at all of the group. But for me, when I spoke, you'd get a phone call from an area manager that didn't say, "What was the atmosphere like in the restaurant last night? How do you feel it's going? Are you growing a database of regular customers? Do you feel like you're giving it?" It was a bit more, "How much money did you take yesterday? Okay, Thanks for the info.
Very data-led rather
Yeah, it
than...
was. It's what it felt like. So while I learned a lot, again, I wanted to, I think, go and work somewhere with a bit more... I wanted to go and work somewhere independent, basically.
Yeah.
I had a regular customer called Stuart, who is phenomenal. When it comes to front of house, I mean, he has, if there's a show-off gene, he has that gene. He's an extrovert.
Yeah.
He's flamboyant. You can forget your order of service. I'll tell you that. He's got the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he took me on to run a little independent restaurant called the Riverside. It was in Woodbridge, lovely little town in Suffolk. Very small restaurant. Had about 25 covers, I think. It was my first manager job. I was the manager. It was connected to a theatre, so it was quite unique. So we did a lot of pre-theatre dining.
Mm-hmm.
And he taught me loads. He taught me loads about the other side of service versus hospitality, I suppose. He taught me about hospitality. Every guest wanted to know where he was if he wasn't there, and he would swing up in his car outside and he would make his entrance and Stu, good to see you, Stu, great to see you, Stu, what wine do you recommend, Stu? And you'd be like, come on, I've been here all day. You haven't... Come on, guys. Got to the point where I was like, oh, pick me. But he was incredible. Everyone knew his name. Everyone had his phone number. So I was like, you can keep that bit.
You're not a wallflower either, so he must have been like particularly...
He taught me a lot.
Okay.
He taught me a lot. Yeah, he yeah, I'm not a wallflower, no, that's true. He taught me a lot about making people feel really special.
Yeah.
About making people feel warm and welcome. And when they came in the door, I don't know, he looked them in the eye and he gave them a big mwah, mwah, and they were in his hands. You know? And that was really inspiring. Really, really inspiring. Loved it. Again, I was lucky. He knew the value of his team.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that he couldn't. He knew that he couldn't do it on his own. He I don't know. He just looked after us. I remember a few little things. I used to drive in. I was quite young. I used to drive in every now and then. He'd give you 50 quid and that's for petrol. Just little touches, and he really looked after me. I actually then went to the Angel Hotel where I manage now. I actually was there back in sort of 2007, 8, as a restaurant manager. And
How old were you then?
So I was 20-ish, 23, I suppose, something like that.
Yeah.
And went there as a restaurant manager, and it's a big hotel, 70 odd bedrooms. It just had a refurb, nice kind of modern at the time restaurant. I was going to say bar. I didn't really have much of a bar at the time, but really nice restaurant lounge. And yeah, I think they only used to come to the Riverside, and it was one of those again where it was like, let's, and I still knew people from the Marlborough actually from when I was really young. So went and worked there. And that was a place where I felt for the first time I was really making a difference, because I felt like I took some of that stuff that I'd learned at university. I took some of that stuff I'd learned working for a chain restaurant, and I took some of that stuff I'd learned working for Stuart in a much smaller restaurant where you could really have a lot of fun, and was able to implement it and really make changes that you could see. I was like, right, you guys need to be working in very clear sections. We can put that in. I learned this at Lock Fine, if you do this, it will be much more organised. And when you start to feel like I'm actually making a difference here. Loved that. And then I was just kind of restaurant obsessive. I would read restaurant. I've got a stack of restaurant. Well, I haven't, because my mum threw them out. I had a stack of restaurant magazines up to the ceiling. These guys are my heroes.
You've forgiven her for that, have you?
No, fuming to do this. She knows it as well. Fuming. But these people I read about were my heroes.
Yeah.
Didn't get a chance to come to London often, but I would every now and then. I mean, London was the place. And you'd read about I don't know, everyone, mainly chefs. The Roux brothers, or who was opening where. The latest Michelin-star restaurant, Jason Afton at the time, Gordon Ramsay, obviously. And I'd be like, wow, I need to get me some of that. I'd met a couple of people in Suffolk when I was growing up that had been to London and come back. I had a good mate, Alex, that had been to work at Claridge's. So he'd gone to be a commis chef at Claridge's, and he'd done a year or two there, and he came back with his war stories and talk of how amazing it was and how different it was. I worked with a chef who'd worked at Kensington Place. And I remember him talking about how incredible that was, and it all got a bit much for me. I was like, I need to go and see this stuff. I think at the time, Michelin stars were I don't know if you agree, more important than they are now. I think people spoke about them more than they do now. For young people coming into the industry, it felt like a thing. Maybe not so much for front of house people, but I was a bit obsessed with it. So I really wanted to go and work somewhere with a star. That was a bit of a non-negotiable. It had to be someone with a star.
I think they're still very relevant, but there are other things as well to measure a good restaurant by. So I think maybe there's just a lot more.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I think maybe what I mean is that they can mean something different. Maybe they meant really formal.
Yeah, that's
Maybe that's
it.
what I mean.
I think they're probably I would agree with that. Yeah,
they
probably.
You know, you didn't see a Michelin-starred food truck or whatever the stories are now.
Yeah, that's
you know.
it. Yeah, it was meant a different thing, didn't it? In those days.
One of the restaurants that was being spoken about a lot at that time was Arbutus, which was in Soho, and around that time, if you guys remember, it was a real trailblazer. It was getting all the big reviews. Will Smith, and I mean, they couldn't look more different, to be honest. But Will and Anthony Dimitri, who was the chef, they'd been at a restaurant called Putney Bridge, and they'd opened this restaurant which had got a star, and it was bistronomy they spoke about. So it was kind of stripped back, so there were no tablecloths. And I think it was one of the first that at that time, this kind of movement that you could have a star and you could be recognised, but you could strip it back, be a bit more informal. I think there was places like Galvin Bistro Deluxe and places like that.
Yeah.
L'Autre Pied and places like that, which were, you know, they a little bit more informal. And I applied to Will. I just sent an email, just sent a speculative email and said, I've never worked in anywhere with a Michelin star. I've never worked in London, but I'm passionate and I'm energetic. And I promise I will listen to everything you teach me. And if you show me the ropes, I'll work 1,000,000 hours a week. I was just really beggy. And I said, give us a job, Will. And I think he sent back a one-liner saying, interview March the 4th, 9 a.m, whatever. I was like, I'll be there. So much like I did today, got up nice and early to come to London.
Yeah.
9 a.m. interview. I remember walking into Wild Honey. I said, I've got an interview with Will. And I could see in their faces, they were like, this has happened before.
Oh, no.
I was like, I've got an interview with Will, 9 o'clock. And they were like, I don't think Will's in London today. I was like, no. Will's in London today. I've got an interview at 9 o'clock. And they rang him and he went, 9 o'clock. He was like, if you can hang around till 3, then I'll be there.
Oh, man.
And I hung around till 3.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what I was doing. I walked up and down Oxford Street 742 times. I went to M&M World. I went to, but I never wanted to go too far away from Wild Honey in case I couldn't find my way back.
Yeah.
I remember sitting with Will in Wild Honey, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Had a really good chat with him. And he basically said, if you're passionate and you're energetic, let's give it a go. I went and did a trial shift. He wasn't there at the time. I remember working with Anthony, and I think I talked my way into that job a bit. And guys, I was just thrust into a whole new world. A whole new world. I'd never experienced anything like it. The levels of business were so different to what I'd ever seen before. You can forget 15, 20 for lunch. It was Wild Honey I went to first, not Arbutus, but it was Mayfair in the times that people spent a lot of money at lunchtime, and it was 70, 80, 90 for lunch in a 60 cover restaurant. It was craziness. Pressure was on. I think all of us were feeling the pressure because we were kind of, they were kind of hot stuff. They'd got the star. They'd won a Katie, I think, at the time. There was, and there was always a chef in eating. There was always a journalist in eating. And it was just something, there was a face. It was just something new to me. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. But yeah, felt, what's that? Imposter syndrome a little bit. I remember shift brief on the first day, and I went in as a manager. I went in as an assistant manager. He took me on as an assistant manager. he didn't say you've got to start from the bottom. You need to be a commie. He didn't do any of that. He said let's do it. Let's give it a go. He must have been desperate.
He loved your beggy email.
Yeah, he did. I can send a good beggy email. But I remember the first day. I remember the cheese board coming out, shift brief, and they're putting the cheese down. And they said, right, your turn. To one of the waiters, talk us through the cheese board. Bang, 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 bang. The region, tasting notes, pasteurized or not, where it's come from, how long it's been on the board, what it would pair well. And I was like, oh gosh, I need to learn. So I did. I spent all my time Google. I spent a lot of time on Google. I just didn't. But I did. Chefs. You'd get the menu off the chef in the morning. That goes. Anthony would write, okay, today we're putting on a Navaran of lamb. I'd go, that's great. I'd be like, how do you spell Navaran? And I'd be, I'd be asking lots of questions, but also trying to not look. You had to, going in as a manager was quite hard actually. You had to lead the team. As a assistant manager, you had to lead the team. And then I got, they moved me across to Arbutus as a restaurant manager about a year later. And that was like rock and roll service. That was Soho. So that was really busy. Again, the same levels of pressure. Again, the faces, the energy, it's Soho. Just loved it. I loved that we were serving that level of food and we were giving that level of service, but to 250 covers a night. And I learned quick. I learned really quick. And it wasn't do or die. It wasn't sink or swim. It wasn't one of those silly war stories that you hear and people go, chuck him in. If he can do it, he can do it. If he can't, he can't. Because it's a bit silly, isn't it? But there was a degree of, you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to be committed. You're going to have to show us that you care. And if you do, we'll teach you the rest. And I loved it so much.
But you're working with a bunch of people who also have that work ethic.
Yeah.
So, do you know what I mean? So it drives you forward as well because, everybody
Absolutely.
cares as much as you do normally.
Absolutely.
Fingers crossed.
They didn't last long.
Exactly.
But Will and Anthony were so hands-on.
Yeah.
They always used to say, I'm the cook and he's the waiter. And that used to be kind of the ethos. It was so hands-on. There was no time for anything else. It was service, 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 service. When I look back, we were probably quite disorganized with a lot of other stuff because it was just all about the service, And that's kind of these people that I've worked with, that's where I get it from today. And that's where it's nice to be surrounded by people that are much more organized than me and know a lot more about me about running a hotel. I'll come to that later than I do.
Yeah.
They opened another restaurant called Le Salon, which was a big French brasserie. That was hard work. I did get moved over there for a bit to try and manage that. It was a struggle, if I'm honest. It was huge. Had about 300 covers and 2 private dining rooms. Kitchen was in a basement. We had 4 food lifts going up and down. And I was
crumbs, completely different.
I was a bit out of my depth. I was like, this is tough.
Yeah.
It was an experience. Again, loved it, to be honest. I look back at it all fondly.
Yeah.
You learn different things, don't you, from all these
You
different
do.
restaurants?
So it wasn't long. We'll just say it wasn't long before they put me back in Arbutus. let's just say that. I remember that conversation. Yeah. We made a mistake. So that was Le Deux Salon, back to Arbutus. And then, the next kind of itch, if you want, was I wanted to open my own restaurant. I'd always wanted to. And I did that, left Arbutus, and along with 2 chefs that I'd met, Colin Kelly, who was the head chef of Wild Honey, Alan Christie, who was the head chef at Arbutus, and we all left at similar times, and we opened our first restaurant called Picture. So that was on Great Portland Street. Again, thrust into a whole new world. We thought we knew what we were doing. We didn't know what we were doing. We just wanted to take away some of the pressure. We wanted to provide really warm, genuine hospitality. We wanted to do amazing food, nothing pretentious. You've probably heard 100 people say this about their restaurants. And yeah, we just wanted it to be amazing. It was opposite the BBC. So the BBC had just opened on Great Portland Street. So again, always a face in. And actually, the hardest part about that was it had been a restaurant for about 40 years. What was it called? Can't remember. It was a really... It was a really... I picked up a lot of language over the years. It was really good. What's it called? It was an Italian restaurant that had been there for 40 years or something that served huge bowls of pasta for £7. And all the BBC lot loved it. They absolutely loved it. He had loads of regulars. I don't know what was going on. It was dodgy as anything. But I don't know what was going on in that restaurant. But he had a lot of customers.
Yeah.
And when we opened, they didn't really like the change. That was hard. We had to really start from scratch. And not just start from scratch, but actually start from behind scratch. Because actually you're trying to rebuild something that they perceive has been broken. Their beloved Italian with Gerardo leading the way, you know. But we did really well, actually. Picture Fitzrovia did really well. Got a bib gourmand from Michelin, so that was kind of the level we wanted to be at. That kind of really high level food, good value. We built a culture of lots of regular guests. We got quite a lot of attention at the start, which really helped. We got some really nice reviews. Colin and Alan both held stars for a long time, so people knew the food was going to be good. We struggled a bit with the kind of format of the restaurant. We were kind of on that kind of polpo hype. We were kind of like sharing stuff, keep it really cool. And we kind of struggled with the service a little bit, actually. We always found that there was someone that, you know, if you want to do that really cool sharing stuff, the service is quite hard. They make it look really easy, but they're not just chucking stuff out, as maybe they are. But we quickly changed into, yes, smaller plates, but we made it a bit more structured. We did a tasting menu, but an informal. It was £35, so it was 6 courses, so it was really ace in terms of value. And people seemed to really love it. And we did well. We opened a second restaurant in Marylebone. First one was Picture Fitzrovia. The second one was called Picture Marylebone. You see what we did there? So we and actually looking back, I think we went through lots of phases, but actually I look back at my time in branded restaurants, and I remember we used to look at places like Coat, and we were like, you know, we could we roll something out? We didn't. Spoiler. We opened in Marylebone. Lunch was tougher. We thought it was going to be Marylebone, affluent. Lunch would be hammered. The site was just off the high street, but it was just off the high street enough to not be Marylebone High Street. Again, really
small things, isn't it? That really, you don't think about it at the time, but they really make a huge impact on footfall. Yeah.
Huge. We thought we were doing really well at the time. We opened another restaurant of a similar size, similar menu, same concept. And again, I'm really proud of what we did. Really proud of what we did. I know, looking back, that the service was brilliant. I know, looking back, that the food was excellent.
I would agree, because obviously I was saying to you before we started, that I went when it first opened, your first one. Yeah. And clearly you made a huge impression on me, because I suddenly saw you and then was like, made the connection we'd met. And obviously I was just a guest, so I've just, we've met, just for that moment in time. Yeah. So
I love that.
You clearly were doing something right with the service, weren't you?
Like I said, I'm really proud of it. Yeah, I'm really proud of what we did.
You should be.
And it was still going okay. To be honest, everything was going all right. We decided to close. How about this for crystal ball? We decided to close in October 2019 because COVID would have killed us. Yeah. It wasn't. We were doing okay. We were happy with the product. Life-wise, at that time, we all had kids during that time.
Okay.
It was just the right time to close while we could pay the bills.
Yeah.
Who knows what was coming? Well, who knows what was coming? It was a disaster, wasn't it? And we kind of went our separate ways at that point. I came home to Suffolk, and back to the Angel. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
I was still in touch with the owner,
who
used to come to the restaurants every now and then. I was still in touch with Diogo, who is the GM or operations, whatever title you put on it now. There's 2 hotels, family owned, and he looks after both. So I'm still in touch with him. And it's really interesting, his career. He'd stayed in that company all that time and learned so much about running hotels, whereas I'd been off doing something totally different and learned so much about operations in a different environment.
Loads of different environments. Different amounts of covers and totally different services and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
and so many ideas that I picked up from other people. And I'd eaten out so much in London because
you do though when you work in London in restaurants. Yeah. That's you just kind of obsessed about your next restaurant experience, aren't you? So where are we going next, guys?
Yeah, have you been there? You haven't been there, loser. It was a bit like that. So I'd picked up a lot. Diogo had picked up loads. Really love working with him. And I did sort of look at a couple of other things, but they're real hospitality people. I had a good relationship with them, forged over a number of years, and
coming back to family, isn't it?
It was, and they welcomed me back, and they give me quite a lot of autonomy, especially with the food and beverage side, because that's my background. So I kind of run it. I look after the hotel day to day, but believe me, there's a lot of people in that hotel that know a lot more than I do about the running of the hotel, about the room side of the business. And they knew what they were getting with me. I think they knew they were getting primarily an F&B guy. But it's applicable. The receptionists are whizzes on their systems, but I know what good service is, so I can hear things. I see things, I read things, I can see what the guests are thinking, and I can help in that way.
This leads us on to the next question about your philosophy behind service and what makes front of house so important in your view in a restaurant experience.
It's difficult to put enough importance on it in a conversation. I think sometimes people go, yeah, it is really important. And they look at you and go, yeah, it is. No, it is. Don't patronise. But firmly believe it's the most important. I firmly believe it's the most important thing. In any restaurant, hotel, any customer service industry, any cafe, anything, shop. I firmly believe it's the most important thing. It's because it's about feelings. It's about how you make people feel. And if anyone listens to this that I work with now, they know exactly what I'm about to say, because there's a quote that I use every single time in training. It's a Maya Angelou quote of imagine if I forgot it now. I use it every single time.
We'd cut it out.
Yeah, can you do that? Is that a thing? We haven't spoken about.
Yeah, we just cut it out.
They say people. She said, I've learned people will forget what you say. People will forget what you did, but people will never, ever forget how you made them feel. And that's what I try and let the guys know. Now, that is not to say that what you say and do isn't important. You can't just swan in at 12 and smile. But what you say and do is very important. You kind of split it up. And I've listened to you before, David, talking about the brilliant basics, magic touches. And I feel the same. You can kind of split it into two.
Yeah.
And what you say and what you do is the mechanics of it, and the order of service, and it's your habits, and it's what you do has to become habit. And then you can, the rest of it kind of allows you to do the rest of it. If your team and you are adhering to all the mechanics of your operation, your order of service, your systems, your specs behind the bar, your script to a point that allows then your team and you, because I have the show off gene too, it allows me, if they're all doing that allows me to come in and really try, not just me, that sounded really arrogant, but that allows us to come in and create those magical magical moments.
Then you can add value, I think.
Exactly.
Mm.
There's
Well, we've all had those restaurant experiences where everything's gone smoothly. They've put the plates down at the right time, and you've been with lovely company and stuff, but you just have left the restaurant with no memory of it.
It's just functional, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's just like, and it's so sad because obviously that they've got everything right. You can't blame them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we've all had complaints in our time. We've all had emails. We've all had letters. I think the most depressing complaint I've ever had said they just didn't look like they cared. And I was like, oh, okay, I've got this badly wrong then. On that occasion, on that day, if that's how they felt, that's the worst.
The impression.
If I got a complaint and say the steak was overcooked, and when I ordered my drink, they forgot to put it on the till and it didn't arrive for 15 minutes, and when I asked for my coat back, they couldn't find it, I can say I'm incredibly sorry about that, and I can deal with it, and I can use that as an opportunity to, how we use complaints as an opportunity to learn, and how we use it as an opportunity sometimes to create a relationship with a guest who then actually becomes a regular guest sometimes. But if you ever read something that says it was fine, but I don't know if they really wanted to be there, that's the worst. Mm-hmm. That's the worst. That's way worse than mistakes.
I think that would tell me something's wrong in the culture.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's only happened to me once where I've read that line, and it was
once is enough though. It brings you out in a cold sweat.
Heartbreaker. And it probably wasn't completely true. It probably wasn't completely true for the organisation as a whole.
But that's how they felt.
But on that moment, it was absolutely true to them. I think, going back to kind of splitting it up. Dave, do you like a football analogy? So we've
we do.
So I'm a big Ipswich Town fan, and we've had a brilliant 2 years, and we've been promoted twice. And when the new owners and chief executive and manager took over, we were kind of wallowing in League One. And I listened to an interview with Mark Ashton, he's the CEO of the football club, the other day, and they said, "What did you do? What's the first thing you did? How have you done this?" And he said, "Premier League habits for a League One club." And I thought that was brilliant.
Yes.
I thought that's exactly what I want these guys to have. And I think that's exactly what you need to have in a restaurant. You need those habits to allow the next bit to come.
Yeah.
I don't care if we've got one table booked in the restaurant. There's a section there and someone is assigned to it. And there's a section there and someone is assigned to it. It's not that busy today, so we'll just kind of tag team it. Can't be doing that. And
it's actually really boring, that, because you have to repeat. And it is until it's done, basically.
Yeah. And I got it from, I think Arbutus and Wild Honey. The training was good. It was on the job, but it was good. If the guys, Will or Anthony were in the dining room and a manager was not visible, that was not good. Or if they asked a member of staff what area they were assigned to and they went, that was not good. It had to be those habits.
Yes.
You come in every single day and you do exactly the same thing, and you assign staff in exactly the same way, and you set up exactly the same way, and you, however boring it is, and you speak to the chef and you ask him exactly the same questions. And, but once you've got that as a habit, then you're flying. I think I saw another one that always sticks with me. Good for a quote, me. Another one that always sticks with me. I read a Jay Rayner review once. I haven't got a clue which restaurant it was for. And he'd had a bit of a dodgy experience, I think, front of house. And he said those things that happen to you in a restaurant that are correct, they just kind of slip over you like warm suds in a bubble bath. They're just happening. You don't really notice. They're just happening. When they make them, when those things are wrong, it's like standing on a Lego brick in the middle of the night. Clunk. You feel those ones. The drink took too long.
Brilliant
Clunk.
quote. Yeah,
it's
lovely,
brilliant, isn't it? Yeah. It's brilliant. He probably just annoyingly just wrote that brilliant quote and never thought about it again. But I've always used that one as well. Yeah. Clunk. Drink didn't come. Oh. Dessert came. I didn't have a spoon. Oh. Wanted to order some wine. There was no one about. Oh. And it's like build up. We can't do our magic touches, and we can't do our. We can't cultivate this culture of regulars. We can't make people feel special if they haven't got a drink in front of them.
No, the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah. So yeah, you kind of break it down into those. And I think the service is what makes the hospitality happen. Yeah.
But once the team's got all those habits in place and they're doing them automatically, just naturally they shine anyway.
Yeah.
It's,
exactly. It becomes second nature.
Yeah.
So once they're confident, once they're confident in what they're doing, and they're confident that they've been given the tools to, and that's the key part. You have to, especially now, like working out of London, you're working with youngsters a lot, and you're working quite often with people that hospitality isn't going to be their career. You have to accept that. It's not everyone wants to be a waiter from the age of 11 when they went to a hotel. But it doesn't mean they can't be brilliant.
No, but they can also take those skills into whatever profession they take up, I think. Hospitality is valuable in every business, I think.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm lucky. We have a college near us in Bury St Edmunds that do a great sort of, I call it catering. They do various courses in hospitality, and they do specific front of house courses. And so I like to work with the college as much as I can at the moment as well, and really just work with the youngsters on the basics. And do you know what, David? You're right. It's boring.
Yeah.
Actually, it can be really boring for them.
Yeah. You've got to really push through and be constant in what you're saying until it's a habit, basically.
Because I used to look at people like Stuart at the Riverside, or I used to look at, charismatic, enthusiastic managers that I work with, and I was like, I want to do that job. I want to be, creating this magic. But they've learnt it all. They've done it all, and the kids are like, this bit's a bit boring, but you have to go through it. You have to go through it and get the mechanics absolutely right, and then they can start shining.
And that's clearly what your Ipswich Town manager has done.
What a guy! What a guy!
We're not allowed to move on to real football, okay?
We can do a whole nother podcast on that.
This is just a football podcast, then. We didn't tell you.
Did I stumble into the wrong room?
You know what? You know when you begged me to come on, and you said, "Oh, we can talk about Ipswich Town if you want." Yeah, he said that.
Okay, Tom. Moving on.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on developing relationships with regulars?
Vitally important, hugely important to the success of any restaurant.
Tips and tricks.
I would imagine.
How do you do it?
I think it's what we've just been talking about, and those magic touches, and remembering about your guests, and knowing your guest inside out, and being able to read a guest inside. Not every regular is the same. You need to provide different things for different regulars. So you need to be able to read people. But I think it's just an extension of what we've been talking about. If you create enough of those magic moments, they'll keep coming back. And then your relationship kind of shifts slightly. It can kind of change. Hospitality is a transaction. So we're looking after them. They're giving us money. You really want it to feel like it's not. And I think we've got regulars now at the hotel that come and stay, or come and eat, or even come for a cup of tea, where it's almost, the transaction's almost irrelevant. I mean, it's not, because I don't give it all for free, but I've got customers that I can think of now, and it's Paul and Nicola are popping in. They said they were going to pop in today. It's almost just like your mates popping around for a cup of tea. Paul and Nicola martini, but
well, that's it. It feels like you're paying for the tangible goods, the food and the drink, and actually the service is like a little bow on the top of it, isn't it?
Yeah,
you want to believe that. I
had actually, talking about them, I'll talk about Paul and Nicola, because they've got 2 kids as well, and this happened recently. It was really good, and it felt like we were bringing on the next generation of regulars, which we kind of were, because it's like me at the hotel when I was a kid. They came in for a few drinks, and I said, "Are the kids not with you?" And they said, "No, he's gone out to the cinema with his mate, and she's gone out to Nando's with her mate, and we'll pick him up later. We're just gonna have a couple of drinks and whatever." They had a couple of drinks. They decided they'd go out for dinner. These kids aren't like 3 or 4. They're old.
Old enough to go to Nando's on their own.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so they went off out for dinner, and that was the end. Great to see you again. Hugs and kisses. See you later. About an hour later, Liv walked in, who's their daughter, with her mate, and they said, "Mum and Dad have gone out for tea." So we thought, where else would we go? And they came and they sat in the lounge in a on a Saturday night in a setting that might be intimidating for a young teenager normally, but we've cultivated that what's the word, culture. Mm-hmm. Of generosity and of friendship and of warmth. And she felt, that's even more exciting than the mum and dad coming in. She felt she could come and sit and have a mocktail with her mate. She's got dad's card, apparently. She thought she could have a mocktail with her mate.
Does he know?
And, I think he knows. And then half an hour later,
what a compliment.
Their son came in as well. And they'd just been to the cinema.
Oh.
Legend. He walked in, blood orange cooler and a portion of chips. But that was really nice. And we all spoke about it, actually. Lovely. And we all spoke about how lovely that was. And they're the kind of things that inspire me. They're the kind of moments.
Well, it demonstrates you're doing the right things as well.
Yeah. When we were just coming back from COVID, I put something on my social media on Twitter about how we're opening up soon, looking forward to coming back. The honest truth was I was nervous as anything. I was in a weird kind of state. I was like, I'm not really looking forward to going back. It's really weird. I was like, I don't think we're going to be able to give the experience we want. I'm a bit down about this. I think I don't know how this is going to go. But I bluffed it on Twitter or something, and I put, can't wait to get back, Yeah. And someone replied, and these are the things that really make me enjoy my job. Someone replied and said, I came for dinner. It was a chef. I came for dinner at Arbutus with one of my young chefs 6, 7, 8 years ago, whatever it was. And he loved it so much that he came back and brought a couple of his mates. And he wrote, being young, penniless chefs, they declined dessert when you offered. However, you bought 3 desserts out anyway. And if that's not genuine hospitality, I don't know what is. I was ready to go back to work.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the kind of thing that I love.
Yeah,
and
it's lovely.
It sounds fluffy, and it sounds a bit cheesy. And
no, it just sounds genuine to me. Maybe that's just because I worked in West restaurants.
Because you're fluffy and cheesy.
Maybe I'm fluffy and cheesy.
But yeah, they're the kind of things that really get me. And I think it's just a spirit of generosity, and it's a gradual building of a relationship with a person. It's a genuine human interaction. It's 20% odd of our customers might be real foodies, and they might go, oh man, you used Cavolo Nero puree there instead of chimichurri wrapper. Oh, that's cool. And or they might they might know their wine inside out. Mm-hmm. They might call you over and say, can we talk about wine, because I love a good white Burgundy and there's nothing here that's grabbing me. Can we have a chat? They might be really into their wine, and that's great, and we can deal with that, and we put the tools in place where the team can deal with that. 20% of them, 10% of them, 100% of people want to be spoken to like an individual. 100% of people want to feel special. And so that's the culture that you have to instill into your team. Yes, get the basics right, but you have to instill that. And then those relationships build and build and build and build and build.
Do you have any systems in place to keep your teams motivated and keep that consistency across them? Because we talked about this before on a previous podcast, haven't we, where, you have very different personalities in teams. And you don't motivate everybody the same way, but you really want that consistency. So how do you do that?
I think part of that comes from recruitment.
Yeah.
Part of it comes from recruiting the right people. So
anything particularly that you look for?
Well, I look for, I think one of the kind of things I make sure, one of the things I believe is that I would rather have less people. I'd rather have not enough people than have recruit everyone that I see. I would rather the people that we employ want to be there, are energetic and are passionate, and whatever it is, whether they're part-time doing their A-levels, whether they're a full-time career waiter, whether they want to become the next Fred Sirieix, whatever their motivation is, they need to be the kind of people that love it when people leave with a smile on their face. You can look at CVs all you want, and you can look at the promises people make and about how hard they'll work and etc. They've just got to be the right people. You can feel it in an interview, I think. Interviews are hard. I struggle with interviews and trials, but you can generally feel it. You generally feel if someone's a nice person. So that's really important. And then I think you have to involve them at all stages. You have to put your faith in your staff. Once you've taught them all the basics, you have to put your faith in them. So if a guest comes in that I've seen 2 times, 3 times, hello Tom, lovely to see you, and I say whatever it is that we do, your usual, you remember that she's a vegetarian. So you're already talking about what we've got that's vegetarian, what we could alter that isn't vegetarian, so you're already talking about. I think really importantly there is that you have to involve all your staff on that as well. You can't just go, there's a regular in, I'll take care of them. I've done that before. I've made that mistake many times. There's a regular there, so I'll look after them. I'll look after that table, and that. You've already instantly broken your own rule because you've destroyed all the systems that you've just said you have to adhere to. So you have to get them involved. You have to say, this is Charlotte. Meet Charlotte. She's going to be looking after you today. Meet Summer. She did a course at. It's just like introducing people at a party, isn't it? It's like a dinner party. It's like a dinner party, isn't it? This is Darren and Viv. Viv's a vegetarian. Darren likes Estrella. This is Summer. She did her level 2 at West Suffolk College. Do you know though? Given
it's
the
about
information,
trust though. You're empowering your staff to
use their names.
Say you're trusting them to look after.
Absolutely,
this important.
Absolutely,
person.
use their first names. Introduce them like you're introducing 2 old friends. I've been watching Ted Lasso recently. He's really good at that. What is it he said? I can't remember what he said when he introduces people, and he says, "This is whoever," and he says, "And you are both very lucky people because you're about to meet this person." And I'm like, "That's
it's nice,
quite cool." So I think it's about getting them involved, and I think it's about I keep saying it, keep repeating myself about breaking the relationship shift almost, and it can be a dangerous, like almost into friends, almost into.
I think that you have to earn that right as well by doing the basic level
absolutely
well, I think.
You can't expect everyone you can't expect people to come in and want to be coming back every week straight away. It's loyalty and trust. It's all the old basics. You have to make people feel warm, you have to make them feel special, you have to say yes. A hotel is it's different to anything I've done before in terms of restaurants, because there's so many different areas. Like logistically, it's quite different. There's a restaurant, there's a bar, there's a lounge, there's a private room. They're really cool. We've got cellars downstairs, 12th century cellars that we use as they're called the vaults, which we use as a function space or as a bar and stuff like that. So it's really, but you kind of have to let people. You kind of have to no barriers of entry. You have to let people almost do what they want. A hotel, it's a big hotel, town centre, ivy-clad front. It looks impressive. Looks the kind of place you should be able to pop in and have a cup of tea. Also looks the kind of place you should be able to pop in and have Laurent Perrier Rosé by the glass. It looks, and I've said to people before in my career, you can't be all things to all people. You can't. You have to do what you do, and you have to set parameters. But being in a hotel has shown me actually you have to be so welcoming and flexible. Do you want a fish finger sandwich sitting in the beautifully refurbished restaurant looking out at the Abbey Gate, then you can. If you want lamb 3 ways and whatever it is on the menu with a delicious glass, but you want to have it on your lap in the lounge, you can do it because you're staying here. This is your home for the next 2 weeks. So you have to be open to all that stuff.
It is a very different thing when you're thinking about hotels, serving food in hotels and then serving food in
really
a restaurant. Different. Staying overnight, immediately there's a barrier that has to be taken down because you're going to sleep there. It's like a place of safety for people, isn't it? As well as not of enjoyment and relaxation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's nice to do a late shift followed by an early shift in a hotel. Horrible anywhere else because you don't get much sleep.
I was about to say.
No, it's lovely because the people that have dinner, you serve them for breakfast. So the people that are there having a drink in the bar in the afternoon, then they have dinner or they go out for dinner. There's so many lovely places to eat where we are. And they come back and then you see them again in the morning. And you see the whole thing from when they check in to when they check out.
Are they like, oh, did you sleep here?
Yeah. But I love that.
You again?
Yeah, I love that.
Did you stay up all night?
Yeah, I go, I don't sleep, mate. I give it all the old school.
Do you?
Yeah, so I don't sleep much, but I do it for you.
I love it.
Not really. It's, but yeah, hotels definitely different. You know what I used to struggle with actually in a hotel? I used to think that people were staying and people were hungry, so they came to the restaurant. People weren't coming to the restaurant because it was our restaurant and we were doing something great and the food was amazing and we have the best wine list and the service is incredible. They'll come because they're hungry. That's something you have to deal with. And that's really hard actually because we're all so passionate and proud of what we do. I don't want to say it's because people don't appreciate it. It's not they don't appreciate it, but it's just they need to eat. You know? So
and they don't want to go out the hotel.
So they're going to pop down. But I think I've dealt with that and I try and teach the staff to deal with that by, their expectations are there. So let's just...
knock their socks off.
Let's just smack it.
Or knock their slippers off.
Yeah, knock the slippers off. Yeah, they come down it... Yeah, I said no rules. Slippers and robes, you can get out. No, but that's how you have to look at it, I think. They've just popped down for something quick to eat. If you can give them... It's just standards, isn't it? It's just about being driven. If you can give them the crunchiest batter on their fish and chips and the smoothest pea puree you're already offering... It sounds like I work in a fish and chip shop. You're already offering ketchup and vinegar and mayo.
I really want a fish finger sandwich now.
So good. My favourite sandwich.
You've really sold it to me.
If you can make everything the absolute best.
Yes.
And you can do it with a smile. And I'm not saying that we do a lot of corporate guests. So there's 77 rooms. So in the week, a lot of them go to corporates. So the service needs to be slightly different. And you have to take as much pride and enjoyment about giving them the experience that they want, which is maybe a little bit more, give me a bit of space, I've been working all day and I'm on my own, is a little bit more, if there's two of them, could be discreet. We're talking here, and I probably give this impression of, because I do talk very passionately about service and warmth and love and genuine hospitality, that can still apply to a level of formality.
Sometimes leaving people alone is also a magic touch.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. Yeah, really nice. I'm going to use that.
Okay. Tom, I'd like to move on to the role of the sommelier and wine service in general. Your thoughts on that?
Interesting one for me because I've never worked with a sommelier, David.
Okay.
Never worked with one. When I came to London and I worked at Arbutus Wild Home, we didn't have one. The service was of a different style. It wasn't as hierarchical. All the waiters were waiters, if you know what I mean. There wasn't a head waiter or chef de rang. It was commis, but they were more kind of running trays. Yeah. So it wasn't like a commis on a section. So that kind of hierarchical system I've never done actually in my whole life. I've never done that level of formality. I've experienced sommeliers from a guest point of view. I think it's vitally important because I think it can be the absolute most memorable bit of a meal. I also think it can go really, really wrong. I think they have to be really, really careful with knowing that they're... Here we go. I've never worked with a sommelier, but I'm going to tell you how to be one. But it's ridiculous, isn't it? But they surely have to be careful. I'll ask. They must have to be careful with the balance of knowing that they're a salesperson. And yes, this is a business. And do we want to sell wines that get us a brilliant cash margin? Yes, of course. But that's not their goal, is it? To make the most money every single time. It must be a tough balance between being a salesperson and offering genuine, warm hospitality. Keep going back to that. Must be a lot about reading your guests. I remember a horror story. One of my friends went to a restaurant with a sommelier. My friend knows a bit about wine. He's really into it. And sommelier gave him his first. They did a tasting menu with a pairing. They were given the first glass of wine, and my mate went, "Oh, is that a Riesling?" Just like question. And the guy went, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, you know more than me, yeah? And he was like, no. Like, it was just, I was interested. So then every time he came back, he said, okay, what's this? Okay, what's this then? And it was a bit, and he was like, you know, it just ruined the whole thing. Just ruined the whole thing. So, you know, you have to be, I assume you have to be very careful when you're in a position of such expertise and you know so much more sometimes than your guests. Must be a hard place.
Well, I think that's what I love about sommelier service is, well, the theatre behind it, you know, that's always fun, but also that they've got so much knowledge, you know, about the wine, and I don't personally have a lot of knowledge on wine, and I love the way that they compare things together and enhance the food, and that's really exciting for me, going to a restaurant and having something that I can't have every day.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
I agree. Love it. I know you call them your star strikers, don't you?
Yeah.
I can see why. I think,
but you must have the wine
I've always
knowledge,
enjoyed
right?
having.
You must be delivering.
What I do is try and give. I mean, yes, more than I've had before. And actually, when I look back on my career, I think because I've never worked with a sommelier, wine buying team, etc. Maybe it's an area I neglected, because when sometimes I talk about. See, I'll go back and I'll contradict myself, because when I say, only a percentage of them like wine, but everyone likes me, it's true. But actually, people that didn't know they liked wine or didn't know they were here for a wine experience, that must be the really fun ones.
Yeah.
So what I tried to do is give my team the tools that they need. So you forget how much you have learned over the years, and so you try and give them the tools. So we do what do? We do a thing called special pours, which I nicked from somewhere else actually. But we do no one's reinventing the wheel. So we do a thing called special pours, which we because I wanted to make it more interesting. So this came from an event we do, supper clubs. We do monthly supper clubs down in the vaults, and it's small plate dining, so a bit different to what we do upstairs. They're always fully booked, really good atmosphere. Turn the lights down, turn the music up. It's really good fun. And people get to try loads of different things, and that's not so common where I'm working, and people find it really exciting, and that's really cool. So what we did was I worked with a really good relationship with the wine merchant, and I said, can you recommend some stuff that's slightly more unusual that'll make people go, ooh, like a Lebanese Sauvignon Blanc or Armenian Voskat or whatever. So we're doing stuff from Tenerife, English, and we do them in 75ml measures, so people can then taste and try, and it all becomes part of the same experience. People really enjoyed it. So from that, to be honest, it came from using up the leftovers from supper clubs. We were like, we'll put them on a board and we'll sell them upstairs. And that became our special pours. And we do really interesting wines from really interesting regions. You know, a classic is to get something that's a well-known grape from a region that you wouldn't expect, you know. So you do a Merlot from Greece or something like that. So I think that really gets the staff interested and excited. So that's like step one. And then because we've always got loads of stuff open, they can always be trying. Now we do, and we just encourage them to taste, actually. I think what we do is you have to take away the scariness of selling wine. It doesn't need to be scary. So we have... we've been working with the staff recently on how to describe wine, and by that I don't mean these are the words you need to use, and you'll sound really clever if you say it's got great tannins, or look at the legs on that. You know, I'm not trying to get them to say stuff they don't know about, or I don't want them to write it down. I don't want them to write it down and go. So this one is from Southwest France, and it tastes of blackberries and and it's quite full bodied, so it would be good with a steak. You know, I don't want that. I want them to taste it, and as an anecdote, we have a waitress. We've been working on a lot with it, and you know, we give her a glass of wine to taste or to smell, and you say, what does it smell like? And first of all, you get, I don't know, how do I know? You're gonna come and smell it. What does it smell like? It smells like a bunch of flowers. And so you say, cool. So that's floral. So you can say to a guest, it's really floral on the nose, and then you say, what does it taste like? And you kind of make it to make it go like this. Can you feel the saliva in your mouth? And you say, is it, you know, we start to talk about acidity and things like that. And I told you this one just before we got here that my favourite wine at the moment is a Sauvignon Blanc from Lismore, South Africa. It's a barrel fermented Sauvignon Blanc. It's really rich and it's got vanilla and it's textured and it's beautiful and I love it. And she had a little taste, and she said, "That tastes like cake in a glass." And I thought it was brilliant. Actually,
Yeah.
she meant it was rich and it had vanilla. And I was like, "You've got it all bang on. Maybe tone that down a little bit, but you've got it bang on." I nearly wrote it on the menu, cake in a glass.
She wouldn't, before any of this training, she wouldn't have tasted a wine and gone,
No.
"It tastes like cake."
No,
because that's quite a big leap in itself. Because most people would taste it and go, "It tastes like wine."
Yeah, and I find
you know what I mean?
wine. I still find being in a tasting with an expert, with a wine merchant who's trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
Or being in a room when you go to a big tasting in London and there's wine everywhere, and you're tasting and there's top sommeliers walking around and you can see their name badges and you're like, "Medler," or and you're like, "Oh, these guys know their stuff." And I still find it intimidating sometimes. I still find it, and they're like, "What do you think?" And you're like, "Oh," but you just have to get over that barrier and say, I think it tastes like this, or I think it makes me feel like this, or I think it would be good with this," and then you can talk about it. No one's really right or wrong. Well, they probably are. But I've never worked with a sommelier, so
I don't know. I've been told I've been wrong for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I know what you mean. You shouldn't. Yeah, you should encourage people to think outside the box when they're tasting wine.
And we kind of, the way we write the list, people write lists in very different ways. People write them in price order, people write them in area, people write them in style, people do all sorts of different things, and people have all sorts of different preferences. Ours is pretty simple. We write it as listed in price order. They all have a little description, and we list the grape first on every single wine, because if a guest asks a member of staff, it's just making it foolproof. If a guest says what grape is it, it's just the first word. It's the first. It's the first word.
But you don't train them to say that.
And I even write it with
the first word.
No. Yeah.
Dumbass. No.
First word.
No.
Tom said it's the first word. But even with a Burgundy or anything like that, I still write Pinot Noir. And I think maybe, are you cringing? I know sommeliers might go, "Oh, you don't," but it seems because actually I've had people say to me, "Why do you do that?" But it seems to help. It seems to help, and it's a way of giving knowledge, and I just want to get them involved as possible. We have a simple list in price order. We have a special pause board, and we have a seller list of well-known, lovely stuff.
That's it. I think that's the beauty, isn't it? Really,
Absolutely.
of wine service. It's about sharing knowledge.
Yeah.
And knowledge that not everybody's had time to gather as much as
Yeah.
these incredibly skilled people.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's a balance like anything, because I think I've always said, and I've always heard from other people, we're not here to educate anyone.
no.
But actually, you are if you do it in a really hospitable, warm, lovely way.
Yeah, it's
If
fun.
you
It's
just
the
talk
fun
about it,
part of it, isn't
If
it?
you're just discussing
Yeah.
and you're learning, it's a real experience. You don't want to be lectured. And you don't want to be sneered at for your choice.
No.
And that ain't gonna match.
No.
But yeah, that's a real skill, because I've always been conscious of not trying to educate people, and I think I've actually changed a little bit and thought actually we can, as long as it sticks with our ethos of being warm and genuine. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, moving on to the next question. What if David and I were working for you, what would be your 3 non-negotiables that you'd expect from us?
Ipswich Town supporter. Uniforms are blue and white.
I don't want the job.
I know, I was about to say.
It's a tough process. What can I say? Uniforms are blue and white.
Hardcore.
So, as you can probably guess my first, the way I talk, just passion.
Yeah.
You've got to be passionate about it. I think I can tell from an interview, but you can tell pretty quickly afterwards. You have to want it. You have to be passionate about it. You have to be passionate about people leaving with a smile on their face. And like I said to you before, cheesy, fluffy, maybe, but it's absolutely 100% the truth.
Yeah.
You have to be passionate about it. If you don't care that they're leaving and they haven't had a good time, or if you don't care that they're leaving and they have had a brilliant time, either way, you've got to be passionate about it. So number 1's passion, 100%. Honesty is another one. And I've listened to your podcast before, and I know a lot of people say the same things, actually. Honesty, integrity, being genuine. And that applies across the whole thing, being honest with each other. Always be honest with each other as a team. That must apply in every work setting. You've got to be honest with each other. If it is hospitality is it is like a family. It can be like a family. I work in a family-owned business, and the team all kind of have become like a family. Families are dysfunctional quite a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So you have to be honest with each other.
Yeah.
And if you can't be honest with each other, be honest at least, and bring it to a manager and be honest about what your issue is, and let someone deal with it. And that applies to how you are with the customers as well. Be honest. Always be honest. Please don't make something up. Please, if something's gone wrong, please don't make something up. Or if you don't know something, please don't make something up. I'd rather you did know, and but that's on me. If you don't know, that's on me. I didn't tell you everything you needed to know. If you've got a question and you don't know the answer, or you just be honest, and you can deal with that in a lovely way. You can even deal with it in a funny way. You can make a joke of it, or you can apologize if you need to apologize, or whatever it is. You've got to be honest, because it all just starts to crumble if you're not honest. And then a smile, number 3, probably the most important. And if you'd asked me what a non-negotiable was when I was 15, I'd have said the same thing, because that's what was drilled in. But it's so true.
Yeah,
I hate it when I'm not as leaders of hospitality and service, and say smile is the most important thing, etc., etc. You have to be realistic. Everyone's got a life, and people will come in in tough frames of mind. It might be having a tricky time, might have had a bad day. I get that, and I'm not naive enough to say anything that's going on, you leave it at home. Yeah, you're. But we are paid to smile. We are paid to make people feel welcome, and it's our job.
Yeah.
So forget what I just said. You've got to leave it at home. But to a degree,
you convinced yourself.
To a degree, it can be hard to forget what's going on in your life, etc. And I think probably if you're not in the right frame of mind to be there, you probably let us know. Again, it comes back to honesty. If you don't feel like you can bring a smile, tell me why, and I'll try and fix it, because it might be work related. It might be that I've just put you, the F&B manager should just put you on horrible run of shifts, and you're struggling, and they made a mistake. It might be something I can fix really easily, or it might be something I can just help with. It might just be letting you know that there's a shoulder, But yeah, we've got to be smiling.
It didn't matter what was happening to me in my life, actually. I think that coming to the restaurant always made me feel better. I'd sometimes get there and go, just not in the right frame of mind for this today. And then I'd pick up that phone, or I'd smile at that first guest through the door, and it was all gone away. Yeah. I mean, it really does make you feel better when you're not feeling very good, to actually bounce off some people who aren't going through something quite so serious. So.
And that's an amazing thing for people coming into hospitality. The teams that you fall into, and the relationships you make with people that you're working with is unrivaled.
Yeah.
Unless you're in a football team. I'm sure
I can't come and work there with the Ipswich
I
Town.
know, it's terrible.
I mean, they all have to shower naked together. That's close. That's tight. we're not doing that.
So, Tom, we wanted to ask you about your current role in the industry. I think you've touched on it already, but...
So it's, like I said, it's been amazing to team back up with these guys. It's Goff Hotels, it's called. So, and they've had the hotel since the 60s, and they have another hotel so that's in Bury St Edmunds. There's one in Ipswich as well, right on the waterfront, called the Salt House, which I can't remember the exact date, but that was, it's 20 years old, just over 20 years old, I think. So I'm day to day at the Angel, and like I said, I've come at it from an F&B point of view. There's no hiding from that. Everyone in the team has their strengths and weaknesses, and I've come at it from that angle. But what we've really tried to do is what I said before, is make it a place that everybody can come to for a real range of things, is instill that culture of warm, genuine hospitality right across the building. And that's not just F&B. That is reception. That's housekeepers. That's chefs. Chefs are walking about. It's really instilling that culture of hospitality. And being approachable, etc. And I've tried to introduce some cool stuff as well, like the we've had a refurb down in the vaults. So the vaults was an area that a lot of people will come in and say, I remember when you used to be able to eat in the vault. It used to be the restaurant of the hotel many years ago, and then things changed. They got a refurb on the ground floor, and that became more of a brasserie and much more modern. And then things happen in stages. So we started to introduce lots of really cool events down there, and just tried to do something different than we were doing on the ground floor. So, like I said, supper clubs, which a lot of it I've taken. It's your experience, isn't it? a lot of it I've taken from picture and what we did. The way to be honest, the way I lay the menu out, the way I speak to the chefs about what kind of thing I'm trying to achieve. I leave that all, they're so good at it. They've taken to it. It's been something new for them and they've taken to it really, really well. We do steak nights. We do pound shop Hawksmoor. We do classic 5 cuts of beef, classic sauces, and just stuff. I used to love eating Hawksmoor when I was in London. You take inspiration from these places, and we do that down there. Do live music, so we do something called Sunday Sessions. So we've got a bunch of people that love it. Laid back music and Sunday lunch. It's just classic. So all just doing everything really well. Classic, old ideas that have and running them as events is quite cool because you don't have to suddenly become a small plate restaurant or you don't have to suddenly become a live music venue. You can do lots of different things
now and again. Yeah, that's absolutely.
And then we do like once a month on payday Friday we open up as a bar basically, and and again we get live music because people seem to really love it.
Yeah,
and we do antipasti and we do snacks and we do arancinis and we do prawns and stuff. It's difficult to keep adding because it's a busy restaurant, busy room service. So events like that where the food offering is much more chilled is on the kitchen it's much less pressure, but we can still be introducing new stuff. And then I'm learning all the time from other people in the business. Like I said, I've mentioned Diogo a few times, learning from him all the time. Robert is the owner, managing director. You learn from him all the time. He will email and say, "I've just eaten here. Look at this." Or or Tom, your coffee. I've had this amazing coffee in this coffee shop. What can we do to make ours just as good? He's so passionate, and they're real hospitality people. And then I learn from people like Katerina, who sells bedrooms. It's a whole new world. The dynamic pricing of it all, and the marketing of bedrooms, and working with like third party travel agents, travel operators, tours. I learned loads from talking to people like that. And there's other people in the business that have been there such a long time, and I'm trying to instill that culture of hospitality and service right the way through. And where there's stuff that I don't understand or there's stuff where I'm not as experienced as other people, try and learn, but just let them know, what I'm here for. And like I said to you earlier, I can see if that wasn't quite right, or I can see if that was brilliant and do more of that, do loads more of that. That one was good. Do more of that. I wish I'd recorded it. So that's the kind of, I love it. Really, really love it. I love the relationships with regulars. It's more than I've ever had before. I love the variety. I love looking after the corporate guests. You can have a table of, managing a table of 30 men for dinner who all work for a farming machinery company and are all drinking beers at the table is quite a job. Managing that and also looking after that couple in the corner who are 17 and are clearly intimidated by the whole thing, and just trying to make them feel chilled and just relaxed, and then managing a cocktail bar. I've had loads of fun with the bar. That's really cool. We were lucky that they refurbed. Really lucky both times I went to the Angel. First time I went to the Angel, they just refurbed. The second time I went to the Angel, that refurb had got really old and they just refurbed again. So I got really lucky both times. So we've got a really lovely cocktail bar. So we introduced. I was able to really get my teeth into that. So we made it. Again, learning from London and my experience being in really lovely hotel bars, you generally sit down and get great service. Where you don't necessarily go up to the bar and stand with a tenner, and while I want to introduce, we have hopefully introduced that level of like sophistication and feeling that you're in somewhere special, but still with that warmth and that it still needs to be approachable, just as it would before when you came in and just walked up to the bar. Now people just walk in and sit down, and because we've hopefully cultivated that culture of good service, they know they're going to get looked after. They're not nervous sitting down and going, "Is anyone going to come over?" So the bar's been really good fun. Afternoon tea, just going to start having a crack at that as well. I took my daughter for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory afternoon tea at One Aldwych.
Yes.
The Angel, one of our most famous former guests, is Charles Dickens. So he stayed there a lot in the hundreds.
Yeah.
And he wrote the Pickwick Papers there, and he used to do readings in Bury St Edmunds, and there's quite a lot of stuff. So next little project is afternoon tea, theming that slightly, making that, something a bit more special, and just trying to be better every single day. What can we do different? What can we improve on slightly? What can we train them on today? Used to work with Colin, that I used to work with, or was my business partner at Picture, who's always used to say, let's just be 1% better. Let's just be 1% better today than we were yesterday. What can we do? And it was really, I think about that quite a lot, because he was driven like that, really, really driven. So yeah, that's me at the moment.
Nice.
Love it. Is there anything that you'd like to ask us?
I want to know what's going on with your new restaurant. That's what I want to know.
Hungry for news.
Yeah.
Everyone is. Come on, David, spill.
What do you want to know?
Oh, everything. Like how has it been? How has it been different opening a restaurant now to what it was 13 odd years ago? Is it easier because you know people already? You've got a team.
How is it now? I mean, it's definitely very different. I was pretty confident opening Medlar, but still, I took a few punches along the way, But I think now with my experience, I guess I can see the matrix a bit more clearly. I have a clear vision of what it's going to be. The people that want to come and work there, of a high caliber. So I think we've got a great chance of creating a great London restaurant, basically, and we've got a great spot.
Have you got the same excitement as the first time?
I'm very excited.
Yeah,
absolutely. I can't wait. Actually,
I'm very excited too.
I'm jealous of that. There's nothing like it, is there? Starting something brand new, opening a restaurant. I still remember opening Picture. The builders were genuinely sweeping the dust out of the front door as the first guest come in. We weren't ready, but you learn a lot for sure.
Yeah.
But everyone's talking about it.
I wonder if are you enjoying it a bit more as well, because you've already previously opened a restaurant, so you kind of know the sticking points a little bit. I wouldn't say you're a complete expert, but you know what I mean.
You know them, and you sort of, I'm not delusional. I know what's coming, and I know part of it's going to hurt. But at the same time, I feel, I don't have much self-doubt about how I'm going to get around that, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Lovely.
That's all right. I'll ring the journalists and tell them what I've found out. Not much.
Okay, so quick fire round.
Yeah.
Ready?
No.
All right. Best service ever received?
Best service ever received. When I lived in Northwest London, my local was Parlour.
Yes.
Jesse Dunford Wood.
Yeah.
Loved it. It was like you were going into his lounge.
Right.
Brilliant. He lived above it. Food was brilliant. They knew your favourite drink. The staff knew your name. Loved it. Also, I would just mention one more. I know it's quick fire, but it's me. So you've got you had Jean-Claude on from Restaurant Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
I had a regular at Picture that used to have a table at Restaurant Gordon Ramsay every Friday. I think he probably still does. Every single Fridays at Restaurant Gordon Ramsay. And he asked me to dine there with him once. I couldn't believe it. I was like, yes, get to go to Restaurant Gordon Ramsay. And I get to see Jean-Claude in action because he's legend, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of Jean-Claude and Silvano that you think of. And although it's a different style of service than I've ever done, you just know you're going to want to see it.
Yeah.
And I remember I was feeling a bit nervous actually about going to Restaurant. It's Restaurant Gordon Ramsay, isn't it? Like it's still a bit, I'm going to eat with Glyn, and he's kind of known there and I'm just me. And I went in and I said, hello, I'm dining with Glyn Morgan. They said, he's in the kitchen. I was like, what? He's in the kitchen? So I just opened the door. So in the door, and Claire Smith was there, and she was saying, he doesn't get a menu. She was like, what do you want to eat? So we did that. But I remember Jean-Claude wouldn't have a clue who I am. Wouldn't have a clue who I am now. And no reason for him to. But he came over straight away and said, Mr. Slegg, lovely to welcome you. How's the restaurant? And I was like, oh man, it's Jean-Claude. And he's asking me how my little restaurant is. He's just done his homework. He's done his homework. But from that second on, I was, like I said before, I was in the palm of his hand. Because you felt important. And it's not about arrogance. It's not about I'm in the industry. It's none of that. It's just the same as any guest. You're feeling loved, and you're like, wow, they it's just being treated as an individual. It's phenomenal.
He does genuinely care. That's what makes him one of the best, I think.
He's got to be the best.
He's
I just watched him.
He's just unbelievable,
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Really, really incredible.
I was about to say anyone in the industry that inspires you.
Not particularly.
I think no one.
Yeah. When I think about people in the industry from my time working, obviously, the people I've mentioned.
Yeah.
Loved Stuart, love him. Anthony and Will. Diogo inspires me now at the hotel. I think of people like Jesse that I've just mentioned. Dan Joins. I don't know if you know Dan. He worked with Robin Gill. They opened the dairy and they opened Sorella, and they had counterculture and all things like that. And he's kind of seems to be doing really cool things. He sent me some samples, and I have to get back to him. He's doing cool things in the drinks industry now with stuff. And I kind of, you keep an eye on, because we were kind of an era together. I always think, he's still doing it. Like he's smashing it. And then the cheesy but true answer, honestly inspired by my own team. Honestly, by the managers. We have unbelievable team that we have one manager that we've brought in from somewhere else, another group locally, who's brought us loads of organisation. He's brought us loads of knowledge, and he's a real grafter, and he inspires me to work hard because I need to try and keep up with these guys. And I've got a lovely girl who started with us at 15 and is now a manager. She inspires me because she's coming on so quickly, and when you watch, nothing more inspiring than that, than when you watch someone who was a 15-year-old that wouldn't say boo to a goose work in the room. That's inspiring. Cake in a glass, she inspires me. Cake in a glass. Great F&B manager who when I started was really new in the job, and I've just been able to kind of teach. I feel like I've been able to teach a lot, and that's inspiring. And then these kids at the college inspire me. Honestly, like you go and you watch how hard they work, and you watch what they want to do. I did it's quick fire. I did there's a competition. You're gonna have to cut this one down. There's a thing called Passion to Inspire, which is like a competition between colleges. And they get them into teams, and they do a heat in their own colleges, and then there's a final, and there's two chefs in a front of house, and they cook a meal, and there's parameters they have to stick to. You've probably seen it elsewhere. Then people come in and dine, and then they get judged. It's a bit of a funny situation because there's judges walking around. It's a bit but I did it. Then you get a mentor from the industry. So I did it with a guy called James Khan, who's a chef at a brilliant restaurant called Lark, which is getting loads of attention at the moment. He kind of mentored the chefs, and I did the girl. I always pronounce her name wrong. She tells me off every time. Cheyenne. I get it wrong every time. It's so bad. But I was able to mentor her. That's really inspiring. Really inspiring. And the chefs in that competition had all these rules and parameters, and you must use this from this producer, and you must be a vegetarian. It must have this ingredient. And then front of house, there wasn't so much. There wasn't so much in terms of. So I had to kind of teach her that. She was like, "What if I do? What happens if this goes wrong? What happens if this goes wrong? What happens if this goes wrong? What happens if I forget to do this? What happens if I get to do this?" And it was kind of inspiring her and trying to teach her that these chefs they could win. They might not win the competition. They've got loads to do. They could make a mistake. It's a long process. I was like, you could, not about winning necessarily. I got very into it though. But it's, you could win this competition in 3 seconds. You could walk in and own the room. You could walk in and be genuinely warm and hospitable and look, and you can really enjoy it. So let's really enjoy it. And that was really, really inspiring.
I think that's what you've just said there illustrates exactly what I think, which makes me laugh when people say it's easy to be a front of house, because you're not talking black and white.
No.
You aren't. Okay, you can teach someone where to put the cutlery down and the glasses and stuff, but actually a large part of it is a grey area, and there is no right and wrong of dealing with a difficult situation or a customer complaint.
Yeah.
And you can actually just start becoming one of the industry's best very easily by just hitting the nail on the head every time.
Yeah.
And then you own that room.
Yeah.
And that's what's so addictive about it as well.
Absolutely. And that's why the youngsters coming through are inspiring.
Yeah.
Because you kind of re-energize yourself, because you're teaching it all again and you're talking about it all again. Like I sit here and I'm nervous on the train coming in. I'm nervous because it's a podcast. That's scary. It's a podcast, and these are really impressive industry people, and I need to go and speak. But once I start talking, but you know what I mean. When people are passionate about it, I know 5, 6, 7 of my team that would come and speak, and you'd have to shut them up as well because they're so passionate and energetic about it. Yeah.
Favorite wine?
I've mentioned this Sauvignon Blanc, haven't I? I keep saying cake in a glass. That's incredible. So that is
I want to try this one.
Cake in a glass.
I'm going to send you a bottle.
Okay.
You'll be like this. That is nasty. Yeah, red velvet. That's amazing. Do you know what's interesting about wine is the people that give you the best service. You meet producers, because it's all about service. You meet producers and they give you great service. You almost like the wine even more.
Yeah.
I met a guy, there's a Peterson winery in California. We met the owner of this winery at a tasting, and he was so personable and so energetic and so passionate about his product and really took an interest in us. He's got the whole list basically. But the service they give you, it's interesting how that really matters. And then stuff, love all the classic stuff. White Burgundy is probably the one.
A book that inspires you.
I struggled with this, but there's stuff that inspired me. The Gordon Ramsay autobiographies really inspired me when I was that age, and I was reading them, Playing with Fire, and he was talking about his business and about opening restaurants, and he used to speak about his front of house in there and things like that. It was inspiring. I heard your last guest spoke about Art of the Restaurateur, which I really love as well. Just really interesting to see how many different people do things in totally different ways. That's really cool. There's a book that's completely unrelated called The Comfort Book, which I really like. They've heard of it, by Matt Haig. He struggled with mental health stuff for a long time. And I've struggled with that in my time. And it's just a book of like little encouragements, basically. Like little encouragements and anecdotes and stories about when you're feeling crap about yourself, really. And like he's a guy that's been unwell. Yeah. But yeah, I read that quite a lot, and as you know by now, I'm into a quote, so I tend to kind of remember some stuff. But that's a really good one that I like to read. Yeah, it just stays by the bed.
Easy meal at home, Tom?
Eggs. Next. Scrambled eggs. I can't cook, so like I've said to people before, I'm so into food. I'm so passionate about it. I love it. I've never, unlike other people, I've never gone, I really want to try and do that at home. I've always gone, that's amazing. Can I buy it off you and eat it? But like scrambled eggs, I'm really good at scrambled eggs. Really good. Like I toast the toast really well as well. It goes underneath it. And open the can of beans. Brilliant.
And the best plate of food that you've ever had then? Since you love buying nice plates of food.
Do you know there's a couple of things that I remember, and I've been lucky because of eating out in loads of really nice places. I said to you earlier, actually, when I met you, when you remember a dish, you know it was good. I said to you, duck egg tart.
But you like eggs?
Yeah. God, this is ridiculous. Isn't it? Wait for it. I'm coming on to egg custard. No, I am. And I said to you, warm madeleines with lemon sauce. I could remember it clearly. Stuff that invokes feelings. Like I remember when I was managing Arbutus, and a good friend of mine, he was called Mornay. He was managing Wild Honey at the time. We used to meet up afterwards sometimes. Sometimes you'd go to zoo and have a few cocktails. But we, if you remember Fergus Henderson, they opened the hotel on Leicester Square. You remember that? It was One Leicester Square or something. They had that, and it was open really late. It was open till like 3 a.m. I remember me and my mate Mornay going there and having a cassoulet at about 1:30 a.m. and red wine and just chatting stuff about restaurants until they kicked us out. That food was incredible. That cassoulet was amazing. And then when I talk about egg custard, Anthony's custard tart and Anthony's floating island after service.
Oh, love a floating island.
I love floating island.
Thing of beauty, isn't it? Yeah.
I've eaten a few.
Yeah.
Tom, it's been fascinating listening to you.
Yeah,
very
thank
entertaining.
You so much.
Thank you for having me. Genuinely,
really
I like it's like I said, it's really cool that there's a podcast about front of house and service. And the more we can shout about it, the more we can get people interested, the better.
Absolutely. Thank you very
It's
much.
been
Thank you.
such a pleasure.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Drive for Service podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Medlar Chelsea and make sure that you like and subscribe for future episodes.